Alright guys, it's finally time for the Q&A. Been really busy with finals for the past few weeks, which is why I haven't had the time to record this video, but here it is, and you guys asked a ton of questions. So I'm gonna start with the most frequently asked questions, and then we're gonna work our way down from there. A lot of you asked Destiny related questions, and I will answer some of them in this video, but questions like which perks are best for a sniper or what do you think of the meta will be saved for separate videos. So starting off, there were so many of you who asked for a face reveal, and I don't really have any plans for face reveal, to be honest. I don't feel like it would add to my content, and for some reason I just feel really uncomfortable when I'm on camera, so I might do a face reveal at some point for my Twitter followers and Team Resolute, but face cam definitely isn't happening anytime soon. Next up, a few of you asked for when the montage is coming out, and it has admittedly been quite chaotic with the montage because I've switched editor and we've also switched the song, but it is in the works and hopefully it will be out by the end of the month. Unfortunately, that's not something I can promise, but as I said, it's in the works and it might end up being a 15k Taj instead of a 10k Taj in the end. And Fanes also wants to know if I can get good. No. Sorry. Next is Frozen Waffle, who asked if I'll be getting an Xbox One. And I actually had one, but it just sat at my desk and collected dust, so I ended up selling it again. Maybe when Destiny 2 comes out I'll buy one again, but at this point I really can't be bothered to grind through Destiny once again, and none of the titles on the Xbox One really appeal to me. Like, I had Halo, but I don't know, I found Destiny more fun. I didn't really like that there wasn't much depth in Halo, even though I used to love Halo back in the day, but yeah, Halo 5 wasn't for me, and there aren't really many more exclusives on the Xbox that appeal to me. Two other frequently asked questions were how old I am and if I add people on PSN. So first off, I'm 20 years old, and when it comes to friend requests, I simply get too many to add everyone. So to make it fair, I don't add anyone unless they're a mod in my Twitch stream, basically. Trisome HD wants to know who would be in my group in the event of a zombie apocalypse. Now, seeing as Trisome is my COD Zombies bro, I'm gonna assume that I'd have to pick a group of 4, including myself. I'm also not going to pick anyone that has superpowers that are too crazy and over the top, because let's face it, that would be super OP, so any character, fictional or real, is available as long as they don't have superpowers. So I'd pick Bear Grylls for obvious reasons, then I'd go for Oliver Queen, aka the Green Arrow, because he's badass, he can hunt with his bow and arrow, and he's excellent in combat. And then my last pick might surprise you, but I'd pick Ellie from The Last of Us because she's a good hunter and she's clearly much tougher than she looks. And she's also very small, so she can get in and around debris and places that are blocked off and, air vents and whatnot, so she can get supplies. So that would be my pick for a team for the zombie apocalypse. I'm sure you guys have some much better ideas, so feel free to let me know down below. Jack Zachary asks, what's your favorite movie and who's my favorite actor or actress? And also, by the way, your bits are awesome. Well, thank you very much, good sir. When it comes to movies, it's really hard to pick a favorite for me because there are so many great movies that I love. Movies like The Prestige, Batman Begins, The Dark Knight are definitely up there. But for my favorite, it's a toss-up between Guardians of the Galaxy and Inception. Both are really unique movies that are really great in their own right, and I honestly can't pick a winner between the two. But as some of you might have noticed, I'm a little obsessed with Christopher Nolan movies. When it comes to actors and actresses, it's a similar situation really, because there are so many great ones to choose from. I almost always enjoy movies that feature the likes of Robert Downey Jr., Tom Hardy, Scarlett Johansson, and Leo DiCaprio as well, even though his movies aren't necessarily always like my style, but he's just a fantastic actor overall. Gary Bruce has quite a few questions. First one is DC or Marvel. Now when it comes to movies, Marvel is miles ahead, no doubt about that. But that said, I do prefer DC's characters, especially the likes of Batman, basically his entire Rogues Gallery, also the Green Arrow, the Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, I could go on. I think overall DC characters are more memorable than Marvel's. Not that Marvel's characters are bad, like obviously the Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, the likes of Iron Man and stuff, they're great characters. I just prefer DC, but there's no doubt about the fact that Marvel's movies are so much better overall than DC's movies. Obviously, the DC Extended Universe hasn't really got going, and the two movies so far have been a little disappointing, even though I did enjoy Man of Steel, but that's besides the point. Next question from Bruce is, who's my favorite hero? And I actually mentioned him briefly before, that would be Batman. And in extension of that, my favorite villain is the Joker, with Magneto being a close second. And Bruce keeps the questions coming as he asks, what my favorite moment in Destiny was, now clearing the Vault of Glass for the first time was definitely one of the most memorable gaming moments for me. And also helping people get their first trip to the Lighthouse is one of the greatest experiences this game has to offer. You know, the joy, the excitement when you get people there for the first time, it's totally worth it. And last question from Bruce, favorite game of all time? Now that's a toss-up between The Last of Us and Uncharted 4. Now I haven't actually finished Uncharted 4, I think I'm at like chapter 20, but I've promised not to finish it because I played the previous 3 ones with one of my best friends, so I can't just finish the game without him, you know what I mean? So I'm not entirely sure if it's gonna get up to the levels of The Last of Us. Both are very beautiful cinematic games with an amazing story. Uncharted also has the benefit of having 3 previous titles to build the characters, but Uncharted 4 is without a doubt the best in the series so far, which is no small feat. And so far I think it's building up to a really, really emotional ending, which I'm really excited for, but until I've actually played it, I can't tell if it's better than The Last of Us, but I think it's definitely up there. Like, it's not quite ahead of The Last of Us just yet, but it could be. Continuing with the gaming related questions, Nathan A asks, what's the best game I've played to date, or alternatively, which has had the biggest impact on me? Now I obviously just answered the former question, but the game that's had the biggest impact on me has definitely been Destiny, as it's a game that I've built my channel around, and the amount of amazing people I've met as a result of playing Destiny is unreal. You know, joined Team Resolute, almost 14,000 subs here, and closing in on 2,000 followers on Twitter. There are so many great people in this community, and it's had an amazing impact on me. Nathan also asked about nationality and my favorite food. Now, I'm actually from Denmark, which should clear up a lot of confusion as people tend to think I'm an American. Understandably so, because my accent is American, but I am actually from Denmark, which you really can't hear. My accent isn't Danish at all. And my favorite food, that would be most Mexican food, really. I can't really pick one favorite food, but I really enjoy almost all Mexican food. Next question from T-Rexall. Outside of computer gaming, what do you enjoy in your spare time? Obviously, I really enjoy hanging out with my friends, as everyone does. But other than that, in gaming, I haven't had much time for activities in my spare time recently, but before I started college, I played a lot of football, or soccer as Americans will call it. And I also used to drive go-karts at a relatively high level, but that stuff is super expensive and really time consuming, so eventually I just had to stop because it was getting too expensive and it was taking up too much of my time. But usually when I have the time and my friends have the time, which hasn't been very often lately, we'll go play some football at one of the local pitches. We're not playing at a high level really, we're just playing to have fun and, you know, trying to hit some amazing free kicks and whatnot. Joshua Pineda, I probably butchered that name, I'm so sorry dude, but he wants to know what my favorite soccer team is, and I've been a fan of Real Madrid for a long time, pretty much ever since I started having any sort of interest in football. I'm also kind of a fan, I guess, of Copenhagen in Denmark, but honestly, Danish football is kind of boring. Like, it's nowhere near as high level as Spanish football or English football, so I don't follow it too much just because it's boring. I also got a few questions about when and why I started YouTube and also who inspired me, so I figured I'd answer all of them at the same time. So originally I started back in early 2013 doing FIFA videos. At the time I was really inspired by 2 FIFA YouTubers, one called Johnny Sports and the other called Kameister. Especially Johnny was a big inspiration for me, and he's actually gotten very successful himself. He has like 160,000 subscribers at this point. And I was one of his first subs, which was so cool for me, and I still have contact with him from time to time, which is super cool. He's been very helpful to me, so if you're watching, Johnny, thank you so much, man. And in terms of why I started doing YouTube, I did so because, you know, obviously it was FIFA at the time, and I was a solid FIFA player and I had quite a bit of knowledge about football in general, so I had something to bring to the community. But I actually got really burnt out on FIFA within a month before I even really started making high quality videos. You know, I was starting out with a really shitty setup, a really terrible audio quality, so I never really had the chance to provide anything for the community there before I actually stopped playing FIFA and posting videos on that. So I was inactive for a while until I started posting some Call of Duty videos later that year. Spent a lot of time trying to figure out the content that I wanted to make, and then it all started taking off when Destiny released. Now Swansea wants to know what tips I have for YouTubers who are just starting. Now these are probably gonna sound a little cliche, but bear with me. So you have to stay true to yourself. Take me as an example. I don't really consider myself a funny guy, so if I were to base my channel around comedy, it probably wouldn't have too much success. But I like to think I'm fairly knowledgeable about the games I play, not only Destiny, but also with COD and FIFA that I used to post. And that is really the content that has gotten me furthest. Obviously, I post a lot of gameplay highlights at the moment, but you'll see my most successful videos have often been weapon reviews, and a few discussions of mine have been quite successful too. On the contrary, you'll actually see that my montages are not that popular, even though I'd say my gameplay is above average, right? But my montages haven't really taken off. It's really the weapon reviews and such that have been really popular, because those are the ones that I'm actually really good at, I feel like. And judging by the reception that my reviews have gotten, that seems to be true. So as I briefly mentioned there, you also want to try and find your style of content, preferably before you even start posting videos, but that's really hard to do. For me, this took a long time. Like in Call of Duty, I was posting a lot of live commentaries, and I was pretty decent at live commentaries at one point, but live commentaries only just will not grow a channel, so you gotta find something that people want to watch, and something that you're good at. And it's not easy, but you probably have an idea of what that could be. It's very subjective, really. But eventually you will find the game and the style of content that you want to make, and it will start taking off if you're persistent enough, but you will have to be patient. Not everyone can be like PewDiePie and blow up over the course of a week. Then we have a couple of questions from Story Machine. What was the first game I ever played, and would my ideal shooter game feature very large teams or smaller teams? So the first game I ever played was Monster Truck Madness on PC. If you look it up today, the graphics are laughable, but it was essentially an off-road racing game with monster trucks, and it was a ton of fun. I loved that game. It definitely has a special place in my heart, as it wasn't only my first video game, but it also sparked my love for racing games, which is a genre that I haven't posted much of on YouTube, but nonetheless, it's definitely a genre that I have put many hours into, and especially the Gran Turismo franchise is a favorite of mine. But let's get back on track. My ideal shooter game is definitely centered around smaller teams. In all shooter games that I've really enjoyed, I've gravitated towards playlists with fewer people. I admittedly haven't played much Halo, but I used to really enjoy playing that with friends as a kid. And in Call of Duty, I played the ranked 4v4 playlist a ton, and obviously in Destiny I prefer the 3v3 modes, and 4v4 is, in my opinion, the ideal game size for a shooter game. Chaos Oblivion wants to know if I have a Titan, and I do, and I hate him. Silly Titan. JJ Sewell wants to know how I got into the Destiny scene and Resolute. Now, Destiny is a game that I played in the alpha and I fell in love with immediately. I think I actually live commentated the first game I ever played. Said a bunch of nonsense that proved not to be true, but regardless, that was the start for me as a Destiny YouTuber, and a bunch of you are probably going to go look that video up now. Be warned, it probably wasn't very good. With Resolute, it also happened relatively early in Destiny's lifespan, so times were simpler back then. But I basically heard about the clan in Mesachon's videos. Then I contacted Clawman, who's the leader of the clan. We played some Destiny, talked about why I wanted to join and such, and the rest is history. But yeah, as I said, times were a lot simpler back then when it came to joining Resolute. It's definitely not that easy anymore. So needless to say, I'm really happy that I contacted Clawman when I did, because otherwise I honestly don't think I'd get into Resolute at this point. Next up is some random dude who apparently thinks he's Hollywood because he's been included in this video, and he asks, what's your favorite part about being in Resolute? My favorite part about Resolute is definitely the sense of community and acceptance you find within the group. We're almost at 100 members, so we're very diverse and come from many different backgrounds, countries, etc. But it's almost like a big extended family where everyone fits in regardless of your background. And it doesn't matter if you're a hardcore player, you're amazing at PvP, or you're not good at PvP, or you don't play PvE at all, or you only play PvE, or you only play on weekends, or whatever, it doesn't matter what your relation to the game is. Obviously, Destiny is the game that we all play and love, but your skill level and how much you play doesn't really matter. It's about community, it's about friendships, and it provides a more relaxed environment for someone like me, who I can get really fired up when I play the game, right? So having down-to-earth friends who can laugh it up helps me out tremendously. And you also want me to describe Reso in one word, which is difficult. I don't really think you can define Resolute with one word, but if I absolutely had to, I would probably say family. Next question from DC Nerd. What was my first FPS game and my first console? The first FPS game I played was Halo 2, but that was at a friend's place, which made for a lot of good memories, but my parents didn't want me playing violent games, so I didn't actually get to play much Halo even though I wanted to. So I didn't really play any FPS until I got Black Ops 2 for Christmas in 2013, which was my first shooter that I actually owned and played almost religiously. My first ever console was the PlayStation 1, where I played some racing games. This next question is a really fun one from Chemicakes, and he says, you're joining a Rumble lobby. who are the scariest players you can think of? Now this is a really fun question, as I said, and picking just 5 players was so difficult. I actually had to include an honorable mention because it just wouldn't be fair to leave him out of this, but I could only pick 5 players. So first off, Luminosity and AE Gabriel, just because they're so aggressive and their movement is so good. They're an absolute nightmare to deal with, and they're also kind of an opposite to my playstyle. Obviously I'm a sniper. I like to sit a little further back, and when it comes to close quarters, use a primary, but primarying them down is so difficult. I mean, I've played against Lumi before, and it was a nightmare. Sir Demetrius is definitely also up there. He's good with both shotties and snipers, so he'll be able to counter pretty much anything you throw at him. And then there's my good friend Faints, who's quite simply scary to play against. Obviously, I did my 2v3 with him recently, by the way. He was carrying me the entire way. And he's ridiculously good at this game. And lastly, I'd have to go with KJ Hovey for the simple reason that his thumb skill is just scary good. Honorable mention is Real Crafty, who's arguably the best in 1-on-3s in the entire game, which translates quite nicely into Rumble. And yes, I know I left out an absolute ton of amazing players, and I quite simply can't include them all, but feel free to let me know who you think are the 5 scariest players to go up against in Rumble. There's obviously no way to say these are the 5 best players in the game, so it's very subjective who you think are the best ones. Meridimuse asks if I'll start investing more time and money into YouTube and streaming once I finish college, and the answer is a definite yes, as I will obviously be getting a job, which means more money, more free time, as I don't have to worry about homework, essays and such. And hopefully I'll be able to invest in a solid PC soon so I can stream and make videos with better quality, and overall just put in more time into the videos. And the last questions are all from Smiles Rising. Number 1, what motivates you to do YouTube? And to be honest, motivation isn't something that I need to make videos or stream. I do that when I feel like it, when I have fun with it. And if I don't feel like making a video someday, I'm not going to make a video, because I found that the quality of the video, or the stream even, just isn't as good. I mean, some of you may have tuned into my streams on days where I haven't been in a great mood, and I don't think the stream has been as enjoyable at all. I think you can definitely tell when I'm not enjoying it. So I really am not afraid to miss a few days of uploading or streaming, because it's about quality over quantity for me, and I'd rather have 2 good videos posted a week rather than 5 average ones. The second question from Smiles is, who's my favorite subscriber? But picking my favorite subscriber simply isn't possible, man. That's like asking me to pick between pizza and burgers. They're both freaking delicious. One does not simply pick a favorite. And last question from Smiles, do I think Destiny Year 1 or Year 2 has been the better year? I'd have to go with Year 1, even though I think the first few months of Year 2 were fantastic, definitely the best period in Destiny's lifespan, but skill-based matchmaking has really ruined Year 2 for me, and I pretty much only play Trials these days. And even though Year 1 was very frustrating as a PvP player due to the ridiculous time to kill and range of shotties, at least it wasn't too laggy or sweaty. It was an overall enjoyable experience despite the many flaws the game had, and when it comes to balance and quality of life, Year 2 is miles better, but it's been laggy and frustrating and just not fun, so I'd have to go with Year 1. But that's it for the Q&A, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. I know I didn't get around to answering everyone's questions, but most of those I didn't answer in this video I will have replied to on the original video. Thank you guys for all the questions. There were some really good ones in there, and your continued support means the world to me. We're obviously closing on 14k subs now, which is crazy. Just think about that for a second. 14,000 people, that is a lot of people. I'm also graduating college here in a few weeks, which means content should be picking up very soon. We'll be posting a lot more after that, and obviously I got the montage in the works, and I'm also slowly starting to work on another Failtage since the first one was so well received. So that's just a little bit of what to expect in the coming months. Thank you guys again for all the support, and I will catch you all later.